There are growing concerns over the worsening security situation in Nigeria's north-central region. The states, including Benue, Plateau, Nasarawa, Niger, Kwara, and Kogi, are facing repeated attacks by deadly armed groups. In recent months, hundreds of school children and community members have been abducted, including a mass kidnapping of more than 300 pupils and staff from a school in Niger State. Residents say villages and even churches have come under attack, forcing many families to flee their homes for safety. The wave of violence has left communities living in fear, with repeated calls for stronger protection and urgent government intervention. Security agencies are under increasing pressure to respond decisively as armed gangs continue to raid and ransom demands, deepening what many now describe as a serious humanitarian and security crisis. News Central's correspondents who have been monitoring the situation now join us live for more details. Sewuese Anyo joins us from Benue State. Chizoba Anionwe is in Jos, Plateau State, while Sagir Ibrahim joins us from Abuja. Thank you all for joining us.
Pleasure.
All right, so we're going to be starting off with Sewuese. Now, what patterns are security agencies seeing behind the rise in kidnappings and attacks across the north-central region? And why has it been so difficult for it to be contained?
All right. Thank you, Chama. Good evening. So according to police, or rather security reports that have been made public, we've seen a pattern of well-armed criminal gangs who are taking advantage of some of these, hard-to-reach locations, some of these areas that are forested, where people are far removed from the town. So they are taking advantage of these locations, to exploit the weak security borders, because most of these communities do not have enough security at the borders and even within the communities. So we've seen that these people have taken their time to, access these communities, and then they take advantage of the lack of security presence and, security deployment to attack innocent persons who are just going about living their daily lives. We've also seen that the rural roads also, most of them in those locations, like the case of the Ado local government area, they said there is no security checkpoints on those roads. So these people are also taking advantage of that to attack. And these attacks cut across the Benue State borders, everywhere around Benue State. This has been really difficult because of the manner and methods of, deployment of these bands. And of course, they divide themselves into different groups and attack at different locations. It's difficult that are behind the attacks. We've also seen that these terrains where the attacks often happen are hard to reach and are really difficult. And there are places that it's difficult to even get help to them when the need arises. So these are some of the losses that these bandits have taken advantage of to attack. And of course, the issue of limited manpower in the area of security. I recall about a week ago, we were trying to access Abandi community in Kwara local government area where an attack claimed over 70 lives. And when we reached out to the security, precisely the Nigeria police, to follow us to that location.
All right, so coming to you now, Chizoba, and how are these repeated abductions and village attacks affecting daily life, schooling, and displacement in communities across states like Benue and Niger? Chizoba?
Well, it's no longer news how these attacks have been affecting people in their homes. I mean, people are even going, going to bed at night is now a problem for so many of them here. So they tell you that because usually all these attacks come at night, midnight, odd hours of the day, when no one is expecting it, especially for them, when there are no triggers that, okay, maybe cows were rustled, or cattle were rustled, or someone was killed, or something like that. Then you would know that there may be something, you may not be able to say when exactly this may happen, but because of incidences that have happened in the past, you believe that something would happen. And so even for them to go to bed at night and sleep like normal people, it's a big problem for them. Affecting them again is going to the farms. These people, they are majorly farmers, because where these attacks usually happen are in the hinterland, remote areas of these communities, like in Plateau State. When you get there at maybe in the morning hours after this attack has happened, you keep going in until you get to those remotest areas. Majorly, there's no electricity, there are no good roads, there are no telecommunication, signs that, something is happening. So you'll be able to call on security agencies or agents to tell them something like this is happening. So at the end of the day, because you're kind of cut off from the main society where these things are happening, for even the security to get to that place at the time of the attack is a big problem. So for these people, it's been said over and over again, to go to the farms is a big problem for them now, because they are not sure of their security. And unfortunately, the security guys have said that they can be everywhere at the same time. So who is to be blamed for this? This is the problem so many people are getting into now. Now, for the food security, we are talking about availability of food and different varieties of food. Plateau State usually is known for the home of Irish potatoes. Now, these things, not just that they are not readily available just like before, the cost is now something else. So when you look at all of this, you see that it is beginning to affect people. Some others will say that this is why people go into crime these days, or go into mining or illegal mining, because it's been banned in the state by the state governor, and recently by the Operation Enduring Peace in Plateau State. So when they go into all these forms of illegalities, it is because most of them can no longer go to the farms because they are not safe there. So at the end of the day, you get to see that the ripple effect is increasing by the day. They are scared to go to bed at night. They are scared to go to the stream to fetch water. They are scared to go to the farm their means of livelihood. So it really has a big impact on them negatively, actually.
Well, I really do love the question that you posed. Who do you blame for this, especially when it's the security's responsibility to make sure that people are safe? Now, coming to you, Sagir, we've seen a lot of rescue operations going on within these communities. Now, what concrete preventative measures are authorities putting in place to protect vulnerable communities?
Well, good evening, Chairman. This is also the million-dollar question that a lot of residents of these communities and also stakeholders within these communities are asking themselves, because I kid you not, a situation where you see security deployed to a particular community following attacks by non-state actors. And then what comes to your mind is, so what happened in the next few weeks or in the next few months? Are those security deployments going to be there permanently? What happens when they leave and these non-state actors come back? Has there been any effort? Because they had mentioned a case where these communities are hard to reach. They are in the remotest places within the state. And because of that, it gives these non-state actors unfettered access into several communities like that. So in a situation where there's an attack by non-state actors in one of these communities, and then there's deployment into those communities, will the deployment also cater for combing the forest around these communities, which are usually vast, to clear the forest off of whatever non-state actors or off of whatever criminal elements are there? These are the questions that are on the minds of many. And then this is the reason why we see, a consistent repetition of all of these issues. I give an example. We were in Kaswandaji, we were also in Papiri, both in Agwara local government and Borgo local government. We saw the abduction of the initial figure of over 300 students, which then came down to around 230. We saw these children released in tranches from 100 first and then 130. And then we saw the case in Kaswandaji where several individuals had lost their lives. In both of these situations, security was deployed to the area. But when we got to the area, we were told that the security was there and then they left shortly after. And then what happened after? Barely 48 hours ago, we hear of another attack in Borgu local government. So for security steps and security strategies, I would say that whatever it is that the security agencies have been doing, whatever steps that they have been taking, does not seem to be nipping the issue in the bud, because we've seen cases of repeated attacks in these locations, on a consistent basis. In Benue, the same situation. In Abande community, like Leah mentioned, security is there. Abande is in Kwande local government. Did it stop non-state actors from operating from several other areas within the Kwande local government as this? It did not. It goes on. Ado local government, another local government in Benue State. So it goes on and on and on, which clearly shows that the strategy to avert these consistent and continuous attacks does not seem to be yielding as much effect as a lot of Nigerians would want. And mind you, we have seen gradually a change in the strategy from what it used to be before. Gone are the days when some 10, 14 years ago, we would see these non-state actors come out, deliberately plant suicide bombs across different locations.
All right, so we lost Sagir there for a bit. We will take a break, and when we get back, we're going to continue this very important conversation on Nigeria's security crisis. Please do stay with us. You're welcome back, and we're currently discussing Nigeria's security challenges, and we have News Central's correspondents Sewuese, Chizoba, and Sagir joining us live to give us a breakdown on what's going on in the different communities that have been affected by insecurity so far. Sewuese, coming back to you, what do we know so far about the circumstances surrounding the release of the abducted worshippers, and has any ransom payment been officially confirmed?
Regarding the release of the 9 teenagers that were adopted on the 7th of February, they have actually been released. They were released yesterday, last night around 9:30 p.m., which has been officially confirmed by members of the community. And shortly after the release of the children, the Benue State government released a statement stating that he had been in conversation with security agencies, security operatives, to ensure the immediate release of the children. However, from the local leadership and persons who led the move to release the children, they have stated clearly that upon getting to the scene of the release of the children, they did not find any security presence or any government presence at that scene. So it's kind of like a contradiction anyway, but that's by the way. But the most important thing is the children have been released. And from what one of the persons at one of the indigenous said, a 5 million naira fine was paid to the bandits to release the children. However, the security agencies have not officially stated that a ransom was paid to that effect. So for now, we have the information on ground that the Benue State government is trying to deploy security agencies in that location to secure the lives and property of the people.
Chizoba, how frequent have kidnappings and attacks been, and what does this indicate about security in rural communities?
In Plateau State here, cases of kidnapping have not really been recorded as such. Majorly what Plateau people are facing are usually all these unwanted killings, attacks in the night, cattle rustling, and all of those. So basically, those large number of kidnappings here and there, like seen in Niger State, in Benue State, Nasarawa, and all those areas, it's not usually the case here. The case majorly on the Plateau is that of incessant killings, where nobody even comes out to claim responsibility. So just people keep pointing fingers at this person or this group and all of those. Sadly, there has not been anyone per se that has been brought out, or a group, to say that these are the people that we are sure that committed this heinous crime, and so they are going to be prosecuted and brought to justice. So the cries of the people of Plateau actually is that these killings have to end so that people can live their normal lives again. Sometime last week, I was in Ladi local government area and Lansan local government area. And so sometimes when you get to see these regions where these attacks are being carried out, I mean, your guess will just be as good as mine. Like, how do people get to come for rescue in this place where there's no network, there's no good road, there's no connectivity, so to speak? So the call is on the federal government, it's on the state government, it is also on security agencies to rise up to this challenge. I mean, just like the lay people out there that they are, they wouldn't know that anything like that would be coming to them, right? So what they're asking for is that everybody, all stakeholders, key state actors, should rise up, whether it's from intelligence or in making sure that, like the judiciary, that when people are brought to justice, they do their part judiciously and make sure that they are brought to book and made to face the law, so that others will, take a lead from that and make sure that these things don't continue to happen. So basically, kidnappings are not really the case on the Plateau.
All right. Coming to you now, Sagir, there's been pretty much a running theme that has been occurring between all three of you, and that's looking at the state of development in these rural communities. Lots of complaints about the inability to reach some of these communities with ease. What exactly are the people saying right now, especially when it comes to issues of development and access to basic needs in the rural communities that they're in?
They've been isolated from the dividends of governance and from the dividends of democracy. So whenever an election is coming up, it's funny how electoral materials would get to every nook and cranny, including these communities that have had one form of security challenge or the other. But yet, when it comes to emergency and quick response with regards to attacks, it seems that they are often left out. Most importantly also is the fact that we are having a growing population of children who are experiencing insecurity firsthand from childhood. So this is trauma that is going to grow with them from infancy up until adult stage if it doesn't stop. So it means that right now, as we are speaking, children who are within this community are growing up in fear, thinking that that is the way every part of Nigeria looks like. So until the government does something drastic, in order to address all of these issues, it's seeming like we're going to have more children within these communities growing up with this mentality, as well as a situation where we have more children living in IDP camps who are exposed to all sorts of horrors that they couldn't have been exposed to, shouldn't have been exposed to, if there was adequate security, if for one reason or the other, attacks in these communities were quelled before they happened. So for these communities and members in these communities, they call to government to have mercy on them, to come to their aid. They've had enough of having attacks and having repeated attacks and living and thinking in these communities of when these attacks are going to stop. But guess what? It keeps on happening and happening. I give another instance of Borgu. Just 2 or 3 days ago, we see the attack that happened there. It's not the first time that an attack has happened in Borgu local government. The governor has come out to say that they would need the local government to be evacuated so as for a comprehensive security operation to be done in that local government. But how many residents in that local government, in villages in that community, can afford to do so? It can only happen with government efforts and intention from the authorities.
All right, thank you, Sagir. You guys spoke with a lot of passion, a lot of dedication to the people out there that you're currently representing their communities and speaking out on their struggles. So thank you very much for that update, Sagir, Sewuese, and Chizoba.